Welcome to everybody that's watching. We'll start in about 30 seconds while we're waiting for other people to jump on. I'll show the couple of cards that I made on my business page, Stampin' Scrap with Mary Knabe, on Tuesday evening. I taught everybody how to make the double point fun fold card. This one is on just a flat card base. It doesn't have a regular, I should say card front. It doesn't have a regular card base that opens, but has space for you to write a brief message. It features the beautiful Perennial Essence, Perennial Essence Designer Series paper. I then made one in the horizontal position. Very similar, I just turned the direction. And then I did make it on a regular card base so that it opens up and you can write a longer message on the inside. And I just used a scrap of the Designer Series paper to decorate that inside a little bit. Okay, so this was Tuesday evening on my business page, Stampin' Scrap with Mary Knabe. You can go to that video. It's also on my Stampin' Piece blog today. So if you'd like to learn how to do that fun fold, you can certainly go to that. I also wanted to share with you this double easel card. This is what it looks like from the side angle. Okay, this is from the front. This was made here in our VIP group last Thursday. So what would that have been? The 20th, February 20th. And it is posted near the top of the VIP page. In there, I show you, not only show you how to make the double easel card, but I also offer a challenge for each of you to make your own double easel card. Any cardstock, any Stampin' Up! Cardstock, any Designer Series paper. You can add anything you want to it, embellishments, bows, trim, whatever. It can be for any theme. And all you have to do is, once you've completed your double easel card following my instructions in the demonstration video, then you post a picture of it to that in the comment below that post. And then your name will be entered into a drawing to win a Stampin' Up! Stamp set up to a $30 value. And that will be a stamp set of your choice up to a $30 value. I'll pull one lucky winner from all those who have participated in the challenge. So if you like challenges, if you want to push yourself a little bit and need some motivation to do some creating, the Stampin' Piece VIP group is where you want to be. Okay, that's on Thursday. So that challenge goes through this Saturday. I will pull the name of the winner on Sunday. Alrighty. Okay, so today I decided that I would focus on the Easter Promise stamp set. Scooting things around here a little bit. And I also decided it's just so pretty with the crocuses. I love the sentiment. And I decided, okay, this is a good one for coloring. Which coloring method do I want to use? I could use Stampin' Blends, I could use watercolor pencils, I can use Stampin' Write markers, or I can use my aqua painter and my little refills. Okay. Before I go on and show you that, I should tell you that this comes from our mini catalog. I've got the camera zoomed in a little closer today so you can get a better picture while I am watercoloring, so I probably can't get this whole spread on the screen. But we have 3 Easter celebration cards, or stamp sets, on page 44 and 45 of our mini catalog. I have to say, this one is darling. I think I'm going to be using that one next week, the Welcome Easter with the little animals. And I love that for baby cards as well. Okay, so I have these two I did not purchase full of happiness, but it certainly is very darling too. Okay, so this is the card I made. It's pretty simple, not a lot of layers and fuss. The detail comes in the stamping and the watercoloring. And it can look kind of intimidating. I mean, because I'm not an artist. I'm flat out 100% honest with people. I am not an artist. I'm a crafter. And there's a big difference between artists and crafters. We think differently. And I find that artists probably have a greater sense of like dimension and angles and thinking outside the box and just kind of creating from nothing. Whereas for me as a crafter, I like to have some kind of inspiration. So I get intimidated, or used to get intimidated, when people would talk about watercoloring cards. And you can see mine is not perfect. But one thing I like about watercoloring is if you look at any watercolor painting, the images themselves are not, it's not a color in the line kind of thing, okay? The colors blend together, the images blend together. So you're gonna see some of that today. So this is my finished card. Now, the only thing I think I would do a little bit differently, where I kind of went outside the lines, is I'd probably go in here with a real light, let me see if I can do it here, a real light green or maybe even some blue, kind of just filling in. This might not be what I want, but, you know, just kind of filling in like that, so these don't look so much like they're hanging up in the air, you know. Maybe a little very light balmy blue in the background to put some shading around it. And then that kind of takes care of some of these places where I went out of the lines too. You can also see on here, I let my colors run together, whether it be the Mango Melody and the Granny Apple Green or the purples. It's okay for them to run together. You might be much more of an artist than me and be able to blend different colors together. I'm good at blending shades. I'm not so good at blending, say, like in here I have that little bit of Mango Melody in the middle. I don't really know how to choose colors to make that kind of like a variegated look, okay, where the color changes subtly throughout. But I think that's something that with practice and a little training from an artist, I could pick up. But what I want to tell you today is please don't be intimidated by watercoloring, because if you do it the Stampin' Up style, I can guarantee you are going to have success. So let me show you first how I set up. And you can't see this part, but I pull out the refill bottles, the ink refills for my ink pads. I pull out whatever colors I think I might be using in that card, okay? And then what I do is I keep them lined up. If it's only 2 or 3, it's not a big deal, but I keep them lined up so that when I put my drops of refill ink on my block, and you only need a drop or 2, really. And that's all I've done here. I've actually had 2 purples and kind of ran them together. I've had 2 greens. I've had the Crushed Curry and the Mango Melody. This is Purple Posy over here. But I leave my bottles lined up in the same order that I'm putting my inks on a clear block, okay? So just something flat and clear. I just think it's easiest. We all have the clear blocks in our stamp room, so I think it's easiest to grab one of those, and they're heavy enough and sturdy enough they don't get knocked around. Okay, and then you need to remember with your And by the way, be careful when you pick up your ink refills, because I noticed on some of mine, they're kind of dirty and yucky, and you can see I got some green on me earlier today. I wasn't paying attention, so I need to kind of clean those off. But just pay attention to your fingers, because you are going to be dealing with that ink plus the water. It's easy to get that in places where we don't want it. Oh, welcome, Cecilia. And who else joined us? Joan, great. I'm glad to have you here. If you're watching, please be sure and comment. I will be giving away a card today, so if you want to be part of the drawing to receive one of these Easter cards, you want to be sure and comment now plus throughout the video. Okay, so when you are working with watercolor and aqua painters, and the aqua painter is just filled with water. It's real simple. It comes 2 in a pack. The tips are a little bit different size, but I just stick that under my faucet and fill it with plain water, and I'm good to go. So an aqua painter, refills, ink refills, and some paper. Now the paper you want to use is either this, I'm not sure how well this will show up on the video, but it is glimmer paper. It's just the color is between a white and a vanilla, but it's got a very subtle glimmer. It's completely flat. It's not like glitter. It's just a subtle glimmer. And then you can also use our actual watercolor papers. It's just, you know, a matter of choice, trying them out differently. Usually people start with this one, but don't let that stop you from jumping right to the watercolor paper. I like it just as well. And we are using new watercolor paper, or are offering new watercolor paper in our catalog now. The last one we had lots and lots of texture. So sometimes the stamped images didn't come out really well, even though the watercoloring on it worked fabulously. I'm trying to move this light. So, see how that does. But this is smoother. It still has some texture, more so than this, but it is much smoother than the last watercolor paper we sold. So I like that very much too. But today I'm showing you this. I'm moving my light around because I was getting too much glare here, and I want you to see what I'm doing. But when you're working with watercolor and or our Stampin' Right markers, you know what those are, our skinny little original markers. You want to use Stays On if you're coloring. So I'm going to go ahead and, oh, one thing too, a quick tip on the Stays On. You know how our regular ink pads are designed that when you close them up, the stamping surface is down so that the ink is always going towards the stamping surface? Well, that's not the case with the design of the Stays On case. So when I store this, I actually flip mine over. So it's always has that ink coming to the stamping surface. So just a little tip that I found to be very helpful. So I'm just going to ink up my crocus stamp. And I think I'm just going to stamp it once this time. Oop. That could have been disaster, huh? But I caught it. And while I'm on this, I'm going to go ahead and stamp my Happy Easter. And for this, I'm just using the Gorgeous Grape Classic Stampin' Pad. Okay. Now on this one, so I'm letting that dry just a moment. It doesn't take long, but since I have the Stays On ink open, I'm going to go ahead and stamp the inside of my card because I'm going to do some watercoloring in there. And with this stamp, I'm going along the very bottom, across the entire bottom of this piece of cardstock. And I want to stamp low enough. I'm actually stamping off, whoops, that didn't come out real dark. I'm actually going to stamp off the paper so that the stems are not hanging in air. Okay, let me redo this one. Okay, and then I'm going to ink it again. And here it's okay if it overlaps with the other image, because you're not going to get a perfect matchup anyways, so don't worry about that. Okay, and once we fill in with the color, it's all going to kind of go together anyways. Okay, so then what I do, I'm going to start with this one just because, how do I say, it kind of all, I let it all kind of run together, so it is actually less intimidating than if you're trying to watercolor and be real precise in those images. So I've got my aqua painter, and basically now if you, and I'll do some on the scrap paper here so you can see, if you take color, pick up the ink directly, it's going to be real dark, real deep color, and then you just keep painting until it fades out. Now you can water that down by adding a drop of water. Just squeeze your aqua painter a little bit and then pull some of the ink from your ink dot in there. And you can see here that now I have a much lighter color to start with. Okay, so that's one little tip. And you don't want to put so much water on because this paper absorbs the water quickly. So just take your time, little bits at a time. If you feel like your brush is too wet, just go back and forth on your scrap paper. And yes, you need scrap paper, and you will probably use a big piece of scrap paper or lots of scrap paper. You will clean this off just by doing this between using the different colors. Okay? If you have any questions along the way, just post them in the comments and I'll do my best. Okay, I'm going to pick up some of this purple posy. And you might see some puddling on your images. Okay, just let the paper absorb that. Don't worry about it. If it gets to be too much, I just hold up the corner of a tissue or a paper towel to it and it absorbs that extra water. Okay, so I'm just going to do some kind of light flowers in here, purple posy, and then I'm going to go in with the, I should squeeze some more out. I let my Highland Heather run into the Gorgeous Grape before. And that Gorgeous Grape is super deep color when you're doing this method. So I want to thin that out a little bit, pull some of the ink out and squeeze a little water. And then I'm just going to go back in and do some of these. I'm not worrying too much. All these images are running together, so I'm not fussing over trying to stay in the lines perfectly. It's all going to work out just fine. Okay, and some of these I'm going to actually go back in. I'm going to kind of give a one coat and then let it dry briefly, and then go in with some darker shades. Okay, because you can see all the different shades of purple I have here. So I like to go start out light and then kind of filling in the areas, and you can see too, I can just keep moving this around and the ink gets lighter and lighter and lighter. So that's one way of getting some lighter shades in there. Okay, but I like to go in and do, you know, kind of fill in the images with the light shades. And then I'll go back in because it's had a few seconds to absorb here. You need a little drying time when you're doing the watercoloring. Okay, now I'm going to go back in with the darker shades and still thinning it out with a little bit of water, the drop of water. And now I'm just going to go back in and just kind of hit the flowers, hit these little crocuses. You know, I'm not even moving my brush around that much in terms of stroking, using the brush strokes. In some cases, the flowers are small enough, I'm kind of just touching it to some of the areas. And you can see how the shades all blend together then. And you can see it will run out. If you have a lot of water, it can run out beyond the lines of the images, the borders of the images, but I think that's okay because that's part of watercoloring. Okay. I'm going to clean this, and then I'm just going to take some of this Mango Melody. I'm not really thinning it out, but I'm just going to put some of that and maybe some of the crushed curry right in the center of these. Maybe a few little yellow strokes here and there. I didn't do that too much on the other one, but I think that's kind of neat. Now I'm going to use, I have Granny Apple Green and I have the Garden Green. Granny Apple Green and Garden Green. I'm going to squeeze out a drop of water here. Oh, come on. Okay. And I'm going to pull some of that Granny Apple Green in and mix it so I get a lighter shade. And I'm going to start by going over all these leaf and stem lines. At the top here too. There's actually a place I pass, a home I pass between my house and my sister's house. And they have, and I remember this last spring, they have bunches, huge areas of yellow crocuses that bloom in the spring. I went by there 2 days ago and they were blooming. And we get some of those warm days in Ohio, and the plants I think get a little bit mixed up. Now I'm going to go in and use some of that Granny Apple Green ink that's not diluted as much. I wasn't so worried about dragging it through the water. Now I'm going to fill in even more. Go back over some of those other stems and make them a little darker. Fill in along the bottom, because you know when you look at a bunch of crocuses growing in a garden, you aren't seeing empty space in there. So I'm just filling that in. Okay. And I am somebody who likes to color with all different kinds of methods, but like I said, for a long time I had a hard time with being intimidated by watercoloring. But the more I did it using the aqua painters from Stampin' Up, the more I love it. It's one of my favorite ways of coloring. Oh, Sue, thanks for joining in. And who else? Kathy, welcome. Sandy Shake, welcome. I'm so happy to see many of you. I think I got everybody. I'm checking to see if there's any questions. So now I'm going to let this dry, okay? I will say the paper will kind of ripple a little bit. If you get way too much water on, it will ripple a lot, but a little bit is normal when you're watercoloring. And to be honest, this was kind of rippled when I first did it, as was, I think it was this area. but I gave it, you can even see right there, there's a little gap. That's because it rippled. It has a little wave in it, just very slight. But it really adheres down very nicely, so don't worry about that. It'll dry and flatten itself out for the most part. So I'm just going to set this over here to dry, and I'll go ahead and start the other one. You know, before I do this, I'm going to actually cut this piece down a little bit, because then I can put an extra layer between it and the card base when I assemble my card. So I'm going to take this down to, let's see, I'm going to go, let's see, 5 inches by 3 3/4. And then I'll be able to put another, you know, mat it on another color cardstock. So just going to change this one up a little bit. That one to dry. Okay, and I think this time, what should I do? Maybe I'll leave one white, and I don't know, should I leave one white? Maybe. But I'll definitely do a yellow crocus. I'm going to start with using the, oh, come on, crushed curry. Just want a little water there. Good. And you don't press hard at all with these aqua painters. So if you have stiff hands or arthritis, a lot of times I get tendonitis right in here when I'm going crazy stamping and crafting. But this, you know, it's just such a light hold that it really is effortless, put it that way. You're just stroking very lightly. Okay, and then I think I'll do, maybe I'll do a light purple, this purple posy, very light, and then I'll do a deeper purple on the other one. I always think when I'm doing things like this too, you know, everything in nature is God's creation, God's beauty. And they're all beautiful in their own way, and no two look alike. So I always remember that when I'm doing things like this with plants and flowers and nature, that it doesn't have to be perfect. It's all perfect in its own way. So we don't have to work so hard at making sure we're perfect. How many of you already have aqua painters? Sue, I'm glad you think the card is so gorgeous. I think so too, but it's also nice to hear it from other people. I'm going to go in here with some darker shades. You can see too how sometimes when it's still pretty wet from the first coat, I just drop it on there and that water kind of moves the ink around itself. Mary Lou, you do you use them much? I know Stephanie Stratton, I know when I met you, you said you like to, you're into the coloring, like the Stampin' blends, and so I picture you being somebody who would enjoy the watercoloring like this. Okay, so now I'm going to add, oh, this is really, really bright. I'm thinking, how can I tone that down a little bit? Of course, I guess crocuses are really bright. I can add a little water, maybe lift some of the ink off. Okay, or maybe if I add darker shade throughout. Oh yeah, I think that's good. Oh, I like this. This color I'm using, the second yellow, is Mango Melody. Okay, I wonder if I can get a little yellow in here somehow. You know, have you seen those crocuses that have the purple with the yellow stripe through it? I always thought that was kind of cool. I think the stripes are on the inside, but that's okay. All right, now you can see on this one, I got it pretty wet, so some of that ink is going out beyond the paper, beyond the outline of the flower. I'm not going to worry about it just now, but I'm going to see if I can minimize that a little bit, and I'll show you how in a few moments. I find doing things like this real relaxing. To me, coloring is relaxing. Some people love it, some people hate it. Although I'm not really into the adult coloring books. Maybe because I did that a lot with some of my visiting angel clients, and I like stamping and making cards, so usually the enjoyment of coloring for me comes in incorporating that into my card making. Okay, so I have that. I want to clean this off really well. Now, I do want to add a bow or something there, but my thought is maybe I should, well, let me fill in some, maybe a little more green here. Kind of like that. Strokes. Okay. And then I'm thinking, and I'm going to pull out another block, just because I have, well, I can probably put it there. I'm going to use, yeah, I think I'm going to, oops, I don't need the ink pad. I need the, oh, I was going to use Balmy Blue, but you know what? I think, let me see if I have Seaside Spray. I might want to use that. Or I could use Pool Party. I don't see Seaside Spray. I wonder where that could be. Okay, so I'm just going to use this one. I decided on Pool Party. That's way too much re-inker. I don't need all that, but that's all right. I'm going to squeeze out some water. I want to make sure you can see this. I'm going to squeeze out some water. Oh, come on. Might be time for me to get another. I think I'm running out of water in this one. There we go. Okay, and I really want to thin this out. And I don't want too much ink on my on my water and ink on my brush. And I'm just going to go around the outside a little bit. Can you see what I'm doing there? See the difference here on the right versus on the left? I'm just putting a little tiny bit of shading. And that kind of softens those edges. Again, just very light. I don't want too much. And you don't want to drag it through your other colors too much either, if you can avoid that, because then it starts picking up the other colors. Another reason why it's good to let those dry. It can still pick them up when they're dry, but there's less chance of just kind of the water puddle from picking up other colors. Extend it this way. Okay, this is probably even a little darker here than I'd like it to be, but I'm going to just blend out those colors a little bit. But do you see how that kind of softens everything up? Okay, do you see the difference between putting that soft highlight around the flowers, whereas this one I did not. Either one is acceptable. It's just a matter of preference to you. Okay. I think it might even be fun to like go in and do some more like this. But I just want it really, really light. Even when you're using Stampin', whoops, that's a little dark. Even when you're using Stampin' blends, you can use one of the lightest Stampin' blends, like maybe, I'm trying to think, like a, what do we have? Soft Seafoam, that would be a good one to just go around the colored images. Stephanie, I know you live close to me, so we should try to get together for some stamping again. I have my basement finished, so I'm going to be to start offering stamp classes here in my home next month. So you can spread the word to your family and friends too. Okay, so you can see how just adding that little bit in the background really changes the look of the card. Like I said, either one to me looks nice. It's just a matter of preference and a matter of playing it. But you can also see how, see my colors are bleeding a little bit. Okay, but remember, that's part of watercoloring. The waters and the colors all run together. So don't let yourself get upset by that kind of thing. Okay, so I think I'm ready to put this on my card base. I will tell you all that I am having a Leap Day promotion, and that is I'm going to be offering 24 hours of free shipping on all orders of $35 or more. And the way that will work is you can place your order on my website with the host code, and I will reimburse you for the shipping that you pay. You'll go ahead and pay it, but I'll reimburse you for that shipping. Okay? This is not a Stampin' Up! Promotion. This is a Mary Knabe promotion. So I have to do it this way. So you can order online. I'll get an email from Stampin' Up! An order went through with your name and your information. At that time, I can either PayPal you, so say for example, you spend $9 in shipping. I can PayPal you the $9. If you don't have PayPal, I will put a check in the mail to you on Monday morning for that $9 to reimburse you for the shipping so that you do get free shipping. So if you've got things on your wish list, this may be just the time for you to do some ordering so you can enjoy free shipping on me. So that is my February 29th Leap Day special. Okay, I'm trying to think, what color should we put on here as another layer? Anybody have any suggestions? Oh, just pull some colors. Okay, I've got Mango Melody, Crushed Curry, Granny Apple Green. I've got a Pool Party. Now what I like to do, oh, Stephanie, we need to catch up. You have lots happening in your life. You and I need to catch up. So we could do, and I'm thinking just a small little border like that. So that's what the Pool Party looks like. We could try the Granny Apple Green. That's pretty too. And we can also try the other two colors here. I've got Crushed Curry and Mango Melody. So here's the Crushed Curry. This is what I do all the time when I'm trying to pick colors. And again, just a little bit. This is what I do all the time. This is how I choose my colors. Let's see. Oh, Cecilia is the first one to respond. Match the yellow flower. Okay, so there's Crushed Curry. I'm thinking the Mango Melody might be too orange for me. Let's see. Yeah, I think Crushed Curry it is. Any of those would work well. It's just a matter of preference, but I'm going to take Cecilia's suggestion and do Crushed Curry. And I know you can't see it, but I have my wonderful Stampin' trimmer right beside me here. I'm trying not to get my card. Let me move this out of the way. Be conscious of this too. When you're working with watercolors, you're going to use a lot of scrap paper. It's going to be wet and damp. So just be conscious of that you're not laying, your card in it and it's picking up the water from that. So let's see, that was 5 inches. So I'm just going to go 1/8 of an inch larger. So 5 1/8 by 4 7/8. Whoops. 3 7/8. 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. And you can see how my paper is kind of wavy, rippled a little bit right there. It's still a little bit damp too. And depending on how wet or damp it might be when you're finished, you may need to just let it aside for a few minutes or a half hour or something before you actually put your card together. But I think mine will go okay because it's mostly dry. Okay, and I'm going to pop this, I'm going to pop this layer up on dimensionals. All right, who's ready to do some watercoloring? Thumbs up or hearts if you feel like you could do some watercoloring. Put one in the center. I really like the watercoloring on the inside of the card as well. It's just a nice surprise when you open that up. And I will stamp the sentiment too. It probably needs a bow or something here, a little something. Actually, I think I've got the crinkled seam binding, and I might just use it as is. No, maybe I'll make it yellow. What did I say that color was? A light Mango Melody. I'm going to do that. Sue Thomas, the stamp set is Easter Promise. Okay, Easter Promise is in our mini catalog. I believe it was like page 45 or something maybe, but you can find it in the mini catalog. There's 2 other Easter stamp sets on the same 2-page spread. I don't need a lot of this because I'm making a small bow. Have you all been using this? Is this not fabulous? It's called Whisper White Crinkled Seam Binding. So it's real thin. It's only 1/4 inch wide, but you can color it. And best thing to use for coloring this ribbon is the Stampin' blends. Number 1, because it dries so quickly. Number 2, because when I work with it, like I am now, because it's alcohol based and not water based like our other markers, it's not going to get all over your fingers and you're not going to be spreading it to your card in places you don't want the ink. Okay, but it is fabulous. Actually, the 2 cards I demonstrated on Tuesday evening, the double point fun fold cards, this is the same ribbon, just colored with Blackberry Bliss Stampin' Blend and a Purple Posy Stampin' Blend. So you can make it any color. I love it when we can customize things to meet our taste or to coordinate with our projects. This is one ribbon I hope will stay around for a while. I have no idea if it will carry over to the new catalog or not, but I would be quite happy if it did. Okay, so there's my little bow. I'll put it on with a glue dot. I just put a single glue dot on the back of the knot of the bow, and I'm ready to stick it on just like that. Oh, it could have even been a little bit smaller. Let me see. Just trim a little bit. Okay, what do you think? Would somebody like to have this card? Oh, Alice, hi. You're catching us at the tail end, but that's okay. You get a peek of what we did today. We focused on watercoloring with the aqua painter and ink refills. And we used the white glimmer paper. So this was my sample. Bright and cheerful. And then this is the one I made during the demonstration. I'll go ahead and stamp my sentiment on the inside. More and more of our stamp sets are have coordinating sentiments. So you get something for the outside of your card and then something to stamp on the inside of the card. Boy, am I glad that was straight. So I don't have to do that. Oh, 3 kiddos today. Yes, some of the schools around me were off today or are off today, except I have to laugh, not the district that my daughter teaches in, although all the ones around them are, so that's all right. But yes, I've noticed kids are off school today, so that's a fun thing. I always called snow days drop everything and play days with my kids, because that's how it felt to me. I was just as excited as they were. And when I was growing up, I think my dad was just as excited. He was a high school teacher. I think he was just as excited as we were to have a snow day. So I always called it the drop everything and play day. And we did. And we had fun. Okay. Oh, you're doing e-learning. Okay, awesome. And Alice, thank you for sharing. I appreciate that so much. Okay, so to wrap up today's Facebook Live, we focused on watercoloring on glimmer paper using Stampin' Up's aqua painters and refill inks. And then we used the Easter Promise stamp set from the mini catalog. We also watercolored and stamped inside, which I love too. I will draw names of everybody who's commented. I'll put your name in a pot or something, or I'll do my willdecide.com because that does it randomly for me once I put the names in, and somebody will win this card. Just a friendly reminder that there is a card challenge going on right now through Saturday. So you have today, tomorrow, and Saturday to participate. You simply watch the video from last week, and it's at the top of that VIP page, and it will teach you how to do the double easel card. You then make your own double easel card following my directions using any Stampin' Up! Colors, designer series paper, whatever you like, can be any occasion. You can add embellishments, ribbons, trims, whatever you like, use punches. But you make your own double easel card, take a photo of it, post it in the comments in that, below that post, okay? Put the photo in the comments, and then your name will go into a drawing, and you just might be the lucky winner of a stamp set of your choice up to a $30 value. So pretty good deal. And then if you missed Tuesday's Facebook Live, I demonstrated the double point fun fold card. and I used the Perennial Essence Designer Series paper on that. Okay, any questions? Very pretty. Oh, the e-learning's not fun. You're not having fun today, Alice. Oh, I'm sorry. Not as much fun as if you were stamping, right? Okay, I will be back on Sunday evening at 7 p.m. on my business page, Stamp and Scrap with Mary Knabe. I hope you will join me then. Until I see you again, have a great weekend and take a little time to do some crafting and something for yourself. Have a good weekend.